Hey guys, and welcome back to Trekyards. He's Commander Cockings, and we have 1.5 hosts. I'll let you decide. Anyway, today we're talking about Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 8, 4.5 Vulcans.
So this is the one, Stuart, that the famous clip was released at one of the various cons, the Vulcan conversion scene. I think the first clip we saw of the season. We're finally here, which leaves not a lot left of the season at all, but also what could be in them we don't know. So Stuart, what do you think of the Vulcanist of Vulcan episodes?
I enjoyed it. It was quite entertaining and funny. I was waiting for the one particular scene we saw, and that is, of course, in the after credits. There is a bunch of stuff there, which is quite amusing. No, it was fun. It was fun seeing them play against type, especially Pike. I think Pike, again, just his volcanisms were hilarious.
Was he a bit loud for you, Stuart?
Maybe a little bit.
But he didn't close the main circuit. He should have closed the main circuit.
No, there was some really good moments. I liked the little thing with La'an as well. I guess with her augmented DNA, she became more Romulan-like, which was kind of great, honestly. Scotty was good. Kirk was good. I think everybody was good. I mean, the Uhura thing was kind of which I have an issue with that as well. Apparently, when they all turned into Vulcans, there was a hairdresser on the floor as well that changed all their hairstyles really quickly so they could stand up, because that's not how DNA works. But
You don't know.
I just that's very true, actually. There is quite a bit to discuss, but this is such a lighthearted episode. And after last week's with the more serious topic, I think this was a rather fun watch. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was a fun episode, and I love the fun episodes. I just wish there was more episodes, like 26 per season, which would have been great. So you can have these fun ones and have them feel more special, because with 10, it's hard to get the serious and the fun vibe, but I think they're doing a fairly reasonable job with that. So I enjoyed it.
Oh, it's funny. I obviously maybe we'll comment on last episode review, and some people said, "Oh, I hate all these filler episodes." But Stranger Worlds, there isn't a main plot, so there isn't really filler. There's just another adventure of the week where you learn a bit about everybody, and there's a plot. I mean, what if there's not if filler in TNG is where there's obviously a big thing happening, and instead we focus on this tiny thing that clearly to save money, or just none of it works very well because they're saving it for bigger episodes. But every episode of the season's done something. Like, the filler is the journey in Stranger Worlds case, so I don't think any of these are filler. But I can guarantee people can say this is a filler episode because they're all filler except the first one, and it wasn't very good, and it closed the loop anyway. So.
But now it's your turn. What did you think of this episode? And I'm sure we'll have a few things to talk about.
So I thought it was fun. I did enjoy it. I think the ending was better than the beginning. I'll explain why a little later. Because for me, I was impressed they got out of the way the why in the first 6 minutes. So we had a lot of time to play. I excited about that. But my issue with the overall episode was that we were on a roller coaster, and we went up a slight hill, and then we just stayed cruising for 40 minutes, and we never, until right at the end, we never picked up any speed. There was no twist, there was no turns. It was just a gentle meandering. The whole episode was a gentle 6 of pace until the end when we had some Romulan stuff, which was great. I was expecting some more twists, like when Spock was turned human, and there was a mum and dad at dinner. That was full of things and jerks here, jerks there, and that was really well paced. This was just flatly fun, so I was waiting for more. So it's not one I'd watch again because I feel like I saw everything the first time, because it's only so good, enjoyable, but I was waiting for something bigger, a twist, a turn.
I kind of was too, but I think it delivered what it promised. And
well, exactly, it just didn't over-deliver. That's the thing.
Yes.
It was the concept. Yeah. The thing I think genuinely makes episode good is the fact that we have some incredible Romulan, not Romulan stuff, because when you boil down the entire point of what Romulan is, it's just a Vulcan. There's nothing else to them. They both started our place, did this, and then continued in their own cultural paths. That's it. So I actually adore the fact that, La'an is just her innate personality, everything about her, is the sides of is what a subset of the people. So they were obviously just a bit more arrogant, a bit whatever. And so La'an's base traits lingered more towards that rationale. And because of how Vulcans perceive the world, they just happen to meld together, kind of like the idea of the augments. Ambition and augment virus breed power, etc. So, or the want for power. So the fact that she just naturally it became a Romulan, and that was her entire plot, I thought was really fun. And then they acknowledged it with one team, which was very clever. Really, that for me sparked the end, because that was the bigger threat, the bigger thread. And I was like, as soon as you start seeing it, you're like, oh, that's really interesting. Because, yeah, they are just Vulcans with a different mentality. And you'd imagine that if those 10,000 people who all have a slightly more whatever personalities by part of their biology, if they keep interbreeding, that's going to keep developing. And then you get the problems through thousands, through hundreds of years. I thought that was the most interesting part as a single piece. And then her and Spock at the end dancing, I thought that was beautifully choreographed. That whole sequence was fantastic, really well acted. So the end really helped elevate it, but it didn't go past Warp 6 in terms of excitement. Like, it would have been amazing if she'd actually called the Romulans, and then we brought like you know what I mean, like brought some other level in, just kind of like as if she's so smart, so resourceful, and she thinks like a Romulan, so she thinks, there must be a cloaked station nearby. That's what I would do. She finds it. She talks to some Romulans. Like, that could have really if you allow them to not remember at the end of it, that would have elevated it. And then you see a bird of prey underneath them. But it's fine. Just that would have been my focus. Now I've seen the episode. There you go. That's my overall thoughts.
I thought that was an interesting aspect as well, and I didn't know if it had to do with her augmented past. Like, there's still some kind of augment virus in her, diluted as it is. I didn't know if they would go there and say Romulans, but they did, and then they quickly moved past it, which I kind of enjoy that aspect of it. So
it's true. Both lived alternate universe, variant time life. Yep, very. Because I had no idea what they're referencing when they started being conspiratorial, and I realized, oh yeah, they both had off book weird ventures, huh? Because obviously it's a secret. They don't know Romulans are Vulcans. That's a giant plot point. Well, yeah, obviously. I thought that was clever.
One of the things that kind of stood out to me and kind of bothered me a tad was the fact that Uhura knew how to do mind melds. Yes, she's fully Vulcan, but that takes training, and there's a lot of things that just in their volcanisms, just being able to suppress their emotions also takes a lot of training. I love that they addressed when they were on the floor changing, like, emotions so strong. Like, they did say that the Vulcans have strong emotions, but it takes years of training and development to actually be able to reel those in. Same thing with a mind meld. Like, to just mind meld, like, you could erase his brain for all you know. You don't have the proper procedure for doing that kind of thing. I don't know. That kind of bugged me a tad, but it was just such a small part of the episode.
Well, I think the basic premise is fundamentally flawed, and everything seeps from that. But, Star Trek Picard seasons 1 and 2 and Discovery seasons 1 to 5 all have done more egregious things. At least they did it with sort of the best of intentions of trying to be fun and use the characters and explore them in their own ways. They all just did mistakes for other reasons, right? So I'm going to take them as they tried hard, but the premise is flawed. Like, the idea that you can just inject someone, entirely rewrite their DNA to become Vulcan, that means their blood is suddenly become green. That means their soul is, well, not soul change, like they suddenly have mind powers. All these things don't equate. Just transformation, and Stranger Worlds has used that before, but it is now that easy. So how many other episodes of every other show can you just inject somebody and they become another alien race flawlessly? It's a silly concept. It doesn't work, and it breaks itself very quickly. Now, they did explicitly say, with a very, very quick line, Una says, because it was via Spock's DNA, and he has certain preconceived, like, he's already learned some stuff that carried through into them. That's why they know logical, which I appreciate. At least they covered that, but in no way should they be able to mind meld or any of the other abilities, because they're not. They're super specialist, super clever. If you're really rewriting the brain to that level, then I don't think you can rewrite it back, because everything's changed, the neurons have changed. Like, it's going to break you in a fundamental way. I would be fine if they, and I wish they'd done this, where it was obviously cosmetic, as the first episode of the first season. So it's cosmetic, and then added a layer. They give some silly sci-fi, like a layer on top, like a filter. So for biological scans, they see the filter, but everything underneath is human, which is why it corrupts the Vulcan, which is sort of slightly what they did with the Katra, but at the same time, they're flawlessly Vulcan. If they'd kept it far more grounded versus perfect, I would have liked it better. Because, yeah, Vinemeld's ridiculous, etc., etc. And then the very fact one of the first jokes is 4.5 Vulcans. It's like, guys, you're also human turned in Vulcan. You're impure by definition. You would logically compare yourselves to be human variants, Vulcan human variants, because you've still got human souls and minds and memories. Like, it's still, that didn't make sense anyway, structurally, and they'd be so logical to not think that way, because that's not how they are. Like I said, the core principle falls down, but so does, Laurel holding a bomb saying, I'll destroy Kronos if I'm not Chancellor. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many things fall down in the recent Trek. I'm like, the bar's been lowered, Stuart. The bar has been lowered so significantly that I'm more fine with this, which is a problem, but again, if that is the biggest problem we're going to have, then a lot of the other Treks just instantly gone, right?
It's funny you mentioned Discovery because my next thing kind of talks to that a bit. I love when Chapel is like, I know what it's like to be you. So much science. And I expected either Spock or Chapel to say, I like science. Because there was enough of a pause there that I was like, somebody's, or even Mbanga, he was there as well. But nobody said it. And I was like, oh, come on. You missed a trick there. As stupid as the I like science line was in Discovery, that would have been hilarious there. I put it in my, I was saying it in my head when I was watching it. And I think it was a missed trick.
I don't know you anymore, Stuart. What's happened to you, sir?
I'm becoming the Discovery. I got injected with a serum and now I'm a Discovery fan.
It's now your favourite of the shows, yes. Even though you watched it. So that's the thing, isn't it? The main premise doesn't really work structurally or logically in universe, and certainly not to TOS, blah, 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 right? Unless they say at the end, kind of like the holodecks, this reversion's a once off, and yes, in theory, we can change anybody, but the chance of reverting them back is 1 in a billion, therefore we can never risk it again. Didn't give that as a caveat, so Blair. But yeah, I liked the fact that it obviously gave everyone a unique perspective, which is what matters, right? The fact they can keep them with those memories, the fact they can keep what they did and what they thought going. And so yes, it's going to make Chapel just feel differently, so much else in life that she had to experience. I'm glad that we didn't have at the end a undertone of, and now I love Spock again because now I can appreciate him, because we didn't need that. That would feel like will they, won't they? But like, no, we've got an interesting thing, which I liked. We developed that further logically, nicely. The sock thing is funny. I guess it's only logically stays there so often. Although it would have been funnier if in a future episode, if we have the same episode, so Lar wakes up and Spock's already gone to work, and she opens her wardrobe and it's just half of her uniforms, which are all the same red, and half of his all the same blue. I just want a previous episode because all there was one uniforms, which is like just 2 full stacks of the same but different color. That'd be charming to me.
I also I loved her plomic soup was awful, because as soon as I hope that's not good soup when she said it, because in a mock time she makes him plomic soup, takes it to his quarters, and he whips it out the door into the hallway, and I'm like, maybe that's why he did it, because he knows her plomic soup is crap. Just thought it kind of,
I like that.
Yeah, I was just trying to I was having fun with this episode. I wasn't over analyzing it as I watched it, but I got to watch it 2 more times now, so we'll see how it is on a rewatch. But I think it'll be very enjoyable. So.
Like I say, it's a broken concept, but Stranger World's done weird things like this before. Like it knows the premise is daft, obviously, and it takes it too far. But the fact that it's the subtlety after the initial setup is broken. It's the subtlety that keeps it going. The fact they're all so different Vulcans, and all of them. That's what keeps it interesting, is the innate brain state they have is being reconfigured by their own human personalities. So, I believe they could have convinced Uhura to be back herself, which I would have liked, because she felt the most medium. She was the least affected, because she was, almost talk toable by Ortega's. I wish they actually had that, where she said, I wish to return towards what I was. Because then you have all the levels, right? Arn is nah. Uhura's yeah, okay, and then the other 2. Chapel obviously is doing it the science way, which I liked her appreciation of science. That felt really natural, and she does love things, adventure. That's great, as in science adventure. That was nice. And then Pike, I didn't quite get what Pike was doing, because
he was having fun. Anson was just having fun.
Yeah, but I would not want to see more of that character or that performance, because it's not like any Vulcan I've seen. I didn't think he was channeling Pike. I don't really know what he was doing. What do you think he was doing?
he was just being over the top. And I really appreciate it because I thought he was hilarious. The way he walks up to Mbenga, stands right in front of him. What is your opinion, Doctor? Like, he was playing it to the nth degree, where everybody else was kind of dialing it back a little bit. It was a little ridiculous, but the whole him sitting at his desk in the ready room, saying, and Una says, "I don't want to get into an argument with you. You would lose." It kind of invoked a little bit of the Vulcan arrogance we saw in Enterprise, but again,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
dialed up a tad, right?
No,
So
yeah, Vulcan Arrogance was the name of the show, right? That was I would have liked a bit more Pikeisms in it. I maybe because the ones were so clearly them enhanced, and he was just because what is a captain that's more Vulcan, right? I guess that's a harder concept to pull with.
well, the thing is, Pike is one of the most human characters we see in Strange New Worlds. The way he interacts with his crew, that friendly, kind of very personal, laid back kind of vibe. So he was just playing the exact opposite of that for this
Mm.
one, and I think that's what made it stand out to me anyway. Um,
So you're saying he felt not Pike because he was trying to be the reverse.
yeah, the
Yeah,
total reverse.
yeah. I mean that makes sense to me. But I guess that it's a very dense character episode. I mean, you had the entire roster, which I actually loved seeing. It felt like a true ensemble, not like we've ever seen before. And it's remarkable how much Corby is as a character. For 3 episodes and all the Discovery secondary cast members, and he did not come in from TOS with a huge character arc, right?
Yeah,
He's a guy, he's not even very similar. But the fact that the brother, Scotty, like everybody has something, both the casting, the choice of dialogue, they all have a character. So it wasn't just I'm bringing in person from this episode, I'm bringing in this actor. Everyone brought something. I think Kirk the least aspect, like he was an overstuffed sandwich in that regard, but they have a lot of supporting characters that are just good, strong people, and that is impressive as all because wow.
I really wish that Sam was in this episode because I would have loved to have seen because it was everybody was there pretty much, and I would have loved to have Sam be there. But no, he went hiking on his own. I would have loved to see him interact with his brother more. That's one thing that I felt a little disappointed with, but
But again, what more they've done? There's so much,
well, exactly,
you know.
yeah.
But again, like I said, great to see all of them. And I mean, yes, we get the Scotty. We literally end the episode on Scotty and Kirk being more friends, right? It's like it's an interesting turn they're taking.
Another thing that kind of stuck with me and annoys me a little bit is this is a Federation starship, and yet Pelia's quarters are technologically modified to avoid detection and scanning. I don't like that that's the case because that doesn't seem quite right. I wish she had an artifact or something in the quarters that prevented scanning, like within a certain radius.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense. It's a small little note, but again, it's something that kind of stood out to me a little bit. Like, why would you allow that on your ship? One of the quarters being modified so you can't scan it. Suspicious much? I don't know. Those lanthanites, I tell you.
I mean, Pelia was just on crack this week. I mean, the actress.
High
I mean,
five. You know what this is, right?
all of her worst traits came out for like vocalisms and acting. I mean, super characterful, but boy, she was on crack. I don't know if the actress is just high. These are all jokes I'm saying, but like she's so like the nth degree. But
She
it
can't
was
get high, not even an LSD.
well, yeah, yeah. But it's just like quirk, the quirk end of it's crispy bit at the end of a fried chicken in a sandwich that's covered in sauce. Like all these layers and elements. It's like oh god, so many things. Yeah, the quarters. I mean, yeah, something, but also just I could honestly buy. There's so much junk in her office in her room that all of the illegal materials for 20th century Earth are banned because they're dangerous. We didn't know it. Just like combined interfere with sensors. Something that mundane, right? All those cat clocks. They got zinc. And
Or
enough of it breaks sensors. Like something that
no,
not
lead.
intent. Yeah,
Lead and asbestos. So
yeah.
it kept
All
setting off the
asbestos.
ship's
Yeah,
setting off the ship's sensors all the time. So just deactivate the room.
that's how I took it, right? But also, she's an engineer. Of course, she could deactivate the sensors in her own room, right? All the ways make sense. But I would imagine that La'an would say no, she'd re-break it. Pike would say no, she'd re-break it. And then after like 6 months, everyone just give in because she's Pelia. and she's like,
Maybe. Yeah.
she's court martialing herself, but like not really, like just she wins via attrition, right?
Yeah.
But again, no references to past Trek in those quarters. Disappointing.
Oh, Doug showing up. Getting to know a little bit more
Gosh.
about Una's past and this Vulcan that's thoroughly intrigued by human nature, and I think that was fun. I think Patton Oswalt did a good job with it, but very un-Vulcan like. In the end, I gotta admit, the end credit stuff was just hilarious. I'm glad it was kind of shoved in there because I was waiting, and then the credits started rolling. I'm like, that scene wasn't in it, and then I realized how much time was left, and I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, it was basically like a blooper reel, even the music playing in the background. But anyway, learning more about Una and her relationship, but not Una because she's acting super. I don't know what to think about the situation. I thought it was funny, but
I mean, it's a jam. It's like a quadruple Oreo, right? Stuffed. And yet somehow we keep talking about new scenes with new characters, and almost all of it matters in some way to the character. So that's quite impressive, right? They've achieved that. So well done them for that. She's such an odd character, Izuna, that it doesn't surprise me because they can just go weird. Of course there'd be a Vulcan who's a bit odd, that is so impassioned for her that they've like just the line brief on it is nonsensical, but Patton Oswalt is not a straight act. Like he's an odd actor, and they made him play it very straight, but he adds like he kept his quirkiness down to a minimum. But when it peaks over the edge of a Vulcan, that's when it was charming, and that's the line. But then you get all okay. Well, the only problem I had with that though is that Spock can't lie. Can lie, can't lie, and I was listening very carefully to his dialogue with Una because you can say things and not lie, but when he said he has got kids, that's like no, 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 no. Spock wouldn't do that or say that. He'd work out a way of saying it. So I was like, no, it doesn't work. And then Patton acknowledged it, saying you're half human, you can lie. It's like no, no. I mean, he wouldn't keep saying that in the future if he can't lie, if he can. And he said it so
unless he
chillingly.
well, he goes more Vulcan though for TOS, so he's accepted the I can't lie.
It was too easy. I was hoping for that clever around the truthiness, but no, he was good. I was expecting more cringe from Patton because I like as an actor, but I didn't think in this. But they played it really straight, and it was nice. I liked a lot. I mean, a lot of the acting was fantastic, but a lot of the Spock subtlety of appreciating the contrast between Vulcans that are so Vulcan they don't hate him, just they look down because logical look down because he's less able, blah blah blah, and a Vulcan who looks up to humans and then respects him in a super fun way, but still in a Vulcan way, but all the subtext is there for him to appreciate it more because it's genuine and not, you know. So yeah, that was nice. That was layered. That was nice. Just odd. I'm slightly assuming now that they've just created the out, which is Una's gonna end up retiring and going off with that guy, and that's why I don't see her in TOS. Because having them start again, I mean, conceptually, right? I think that's just they've made themselves a nice little out of having a go off and have a happy life, and I'd feel absolutely fine with that because they had genuinely a decent chemistry, and you've never seen her happier, and not like she's not losing her control. She's just the happiest she is with him, and it's just it was nice. So I think that is a nice way of doing that. We don't need weird stuff.
I still think that she's going to get reassigned, get a ship, her own ship, and she's going to take Ortigas with her at the end. I think that's going to...
yeah.
Or just can continue writing novels for all the...
or just Ortigas, Laan, and Una's blow up in a ship, and they all get killed. There you go, done.
That's... Wow.
Well, then, you TOS clean. And then Ben gets his mind wiped, so he thinks he's a lieutenant.
I think he probably gets demoted at some point because of something he does that's sketchy, or if they find out about what he did to the Klingon guy. That's a whole other conversation. But
which I was intrigued to see how they addressed the, because boy, they were throwing all the plot lines in this, and again it was stuff, but it was still grounded. Surprisingly, they did deal with the repercussion of the doc for like 9 seconds. Oh, I was busy doing the editing. It's like, well, yeah, but what did she think of the doc? How they presented? That would have been nice to hear, right?
Yeah, I thought something. The same thing.
Because her not saying anything meant there was nothing to say, which means she was fine with it, which means moving on. It's like, well, missed opportunity there. But then would you have needed that as well?
No.
Oi. So the resolution, very quick, and then we solved it. But then, of course, we had the bit with Laan, which again I think is some of the funnest stuff. Just in general, her vibe getting shocked was pretty entertaining, and then not wanting to go back, which they kind of didn't explicitly say why she didn't want to go back. It was kind of a mix of everything. Like they which is kind of a good thing, right? You're left to your own interpretation, because for me, they took the dialogue, "What are you afraid of?" when referring to Spock, but they didn't explicitly say, "I'm afraid of loving you." I'm afraid. I didn't have to say it, so it could have been, "I'm afraid of being human again. I'm afraid of being weak again. I'm afraid." That I thought was nice, and she's always excellent in this, Christina, and she just again brought a lot more nuance, but she was obviously just having fun being a Romulan. I'm assuming she must just have, the director must have just said, just look at this Romulan and just be them, because she's just doing. The more she goes, you're like, yep, Romulan.
Yeah, and that end fight scene that was fight choreography turning into dance choreography, going from room to room. Like they start off in the science lab, they go to the bridge, they go to the corridor, like all intercut, was really well done, as you said. The spotlight on them as well. It's like her mind palace.
With, for some reason, a humpback whale that starts off, or at least a whale, in the room that's not.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool.
With the water light, I'm like, did they have cetacean ops on this Enterprise? Because no.
Just likes whales? I don't know. Was a little bit. I mean, they've really not mentioned it, but to have Spock literally say descendant of Khan Noonien Singh, and then not really know who Khan Noonien Singh is 6 years later, felt not great, because of course there's an ambiguity of who's that guy. Like, Spock does not know who he is, and TOS properly does full research, but obviously he knew for Laan. So they were once again sort of saying, So I wish they'd done it another way, but with a name literally of the thing. Right? What do you think of that? Because it's there. They acknowledge it. It's there.
Yeah, well, I was wondering why Laan was being more Romulan, and I do like that it might tie into her augmented past or genes. I was surprised they mentioned it, but it was very quick and very kind of glossed over, that like it wasn't focused on. It's like, oh, this is the reason that she's acting more aggressive, and like they could have done a whole thing in sickbay talking about it, and that they didn't.
That's a fair point. They could have made it a whole big deal. Yeah, your augmented DNA from the Eugenics War makes you especially. But if you're a Trek fan,
yeah.
But if you're a Trek fan, you 100% get it, and that does speak to, now you could do a fan or book, as you alluded to earlier, of were the Romulans Vulcans who started playing with genetic engineering, and they were a set of Vulcans who had a slight augment. Well, yeah, although they say it as terror, but just they started augmenting themselves, and with that little bit of extra ambition, which Laan does have, right? She's a little bit extra that. The Romulan path was formed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that being a retcon. It's less nature versus nurture, but it is understandable, and there's a bit of evidence here, right?
Yeah. It's an interesting point. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you can read into this if you try.
Yeah, because when I was watching, I thought the same thing. It's like, does this mean that? So the Romulans were different than the Vulcans for sure, but they tried to enhance. Because I was thinking that while watching it, trying to figure that out, and yeah, that's an interesting take on it. And it could explain the forehead ridges. Not all Romulans have them. It's fine, but could be part of the process of the augmentation.
Yeah, I don't need it literally to be that, but it can just be. I mean, we have people on Earth who take vaccines that make them stronger, blah blah blah. So they could just have had 80 years before the split, there was just a natural thing to improve the immune system, and that led to it could just be that simple, right? And that spread through a population. Certain kids, certain whatever, got changed minorly, and Laan, because the fact is the difference between her at moment one to end, that escalation, because it all takes place in a day basically, which I thought was kind of weird. They say at the end, "Oh, early today our meeting." It's like, oh, this is one day. Oh, okay. Yeah. The escalation from that to being a war criminal, shooty person, there's something extra there. So I could see her being a 7 out of 10 augment, whereas the Romulans were like a 3, and it gave them a little bit of that. So they left. I would have loved to have seen, I guess I'll end on this, There's a great episode of Enterprise where everyone's also affected and everyone has bad habits and everyone gets obsessed with stuff. And it's a weird episode, lets them all act. But they genuinely get some benefits after that. I mean, Archer's chair is fixed. The benefits speak for themselves. They get read alert, they get enhanced weapon protocols, which are then used later. They actually develop stuff. I would have liked to have seen Laan actually develop something in the episode that, say, turns the phasers blue and they say, we've improved the modulation and now they're this, to produce something towards TOS that she's able to improve the ship. That would have been nice because she's, put into practice what she's thinking. Would have been fun to kind of piggyback, but I just thought of Enterprise. And when a show makes you think of Enterprise, that could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but I did have that as a thought.
Well, guys, those are our thoughts on this episode, logical or illogical as they are. But we want to hear your reasoning down in the comment section. So make sure you comment on this video. Let us know your thoughts on it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I mean, those are logical things to do.
And let us know, did you enjoy this more than last week's, which got a lot of very varied opinions? Because both of these have strong things they're doing, and you might agree or disagree. So let us know how it compares to last week's. And that'll be interesting in our full review. Today, Stuart, the evening, we'll do a scene by scene. And while there's not a lot of Trekkie, techie, us stuff to look at, every scene does something with every character pretty much. So a lot of small things to talk about this week. So join that live if you can. 2 hours of Trek fun with an amazing audience. If you want to say something, you love it, you hate it, you have a thought, you notice something special, super chat your thoughts, comments, or questions, or super thanks in any video like this one, if you like. That's just some of the ways, Stuart. What other ways?
Hit like, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell icon, super chat on lives if you can, super thanks on this video if you can. Do all logical things. Help us out any way you can. There's lots of ways to support us, so please do so.
And the P's, PayPal, one-time donation, Patreon, monthly donation, Pia Pert, at the shirt link down below, at Teespring. Purchase, there we go, Stuart, thank you. But not watching the outros anyway, so it don't matter that I'm saying these things. So if you're not watching the outro, hello. And if you're watching our joke, high five, Stuart.
Until next time, he's Commander Cockings.
Scatterfellow. Bye, guys.
Live long and prosper.